Trump just unleashed hell on Houthi rebels, dropping deadly airstrikes from above and slaughtering one of their key leaders. Armed with MQ-9 Reapers, the world's most deadly drones, U.S. Navy vessels left nothing but rubble in their wake. The elite Army unit decimated new bases and wiped out hundreds of rebels. In March alone, the U.S. eliminated 59 Houthi members in these ruthless strikes. But it's not going to stop at this. In the coming months, more strikes are coming, and more will be killed. This is the dawn of a new era, where the U.S. no longer plays games. Now that Trump's involved, the mighty fist of the United States is coming down, and the Houthi rebels are the first to face the wrath.
The White House released a photo of President Trump watching as American forces carried out the attacks. The Houthis claim at least 31 people were killed.
The airstrikes were carried out by fighter jets in the northern Red Sea, this less than 2 weeks after the president signed an executive order redesignating the Houthis a foreign terrorist organization.
The conflict between the Houthi rebels and the United States has been long in the making. It all started as a local uprising. The Houthis, a group from northern Yemen, felt unfairly treated by the government and wanted more freedom for their region. But things escalated in 2014 when they took over the capital, Sana'a, forcing the Yemeni president to flee. This key event triggered a civil war, with Saudi Arabia leading a coalition to fight the Houthis and bring back the government. Backed by Iran, the Houthis fired missiles and drones at Saudi Arabia and attacked ships in the Red Sea, shaking the world. This was when the U.S. stepped in. The Houthis' aggressive actions left global powers with no option but to intervene, turning Yemen into a battlefield of regional and international conflict.
Smoke billows in the night sky above Yemen's capital, Sana'a. As strikes launched by the US hit dozens of targets across the country.
Skip forward to 2025. As President Trump returned for his second presidency in January, he decided to up the ante in a way never seen before. The deadly strikes in Yemen began dramatically in early January 2025. On January 6th, the USS Gravely, a U.S. Navy destroyer, and an aircraft carrier were operating in the Red Sea. Suddenly, radar screens lit up with fast-moving contacts, missiles and drones heading straight for them. Sailors had seconds to react. Alarms blared. Battle stations were manned. The Gravely's advanced radar confirmed the threat. 2 Charlie 802 missiles, flying at over 600 miles per hour, were locked in. These missiles are killers, low-flying, radar-dodging, armor-piercing. The Gravely fired 2 SM-2 missiles to intercept, then 2 more to be sure. The crew held their breath as the radar confirmed a hit. Both threats were downed, but there was no time to celebrate. Seconds later, 4 Shahed 136 drones appeared on radar. Smaller, slower, but just as lethal. These kamikaze drones were built to crash into targets and explode on impact. Instead of wasting high-cost missiles, the captain held fire. When the drones got within 3 miles, he unleashed the ship's Sea-Whiz system, a fearsome gun that spits out thousands of rounds a minute. The sky lit up. All 4 drones were shredded. Surviving the attack was only step 1. The next move: find out where the weapons came from. Using thermal imaging satellites and surveillance drones, U.S. forces pinpointed underground bunkers near Sana'a and Sada, hidden deep in the desert and packed with the same weapons used to strike American ships. 2 days later, on January 8th, the U.S. hit back. The Gravely and Carney launched 12 Tomahawk cruise missiles, while F-18s roared off an aircraft carrier to join the strike. The Tomahawks flew low and fast, guided by satellite matching systems for pinpoint accuracy. When they hit, the bunkers lit up, explosions tearing through concrete and steel. The F-18s followed up with laser-guided bombs, striking the entrances blown open by the missiles. Inside, secondary explosions ripped through the bunkers. Dozens of Houthi missiles went off like fireworks. By the time the smoke cleared, the bunkers were gone. The message was clear: attack a U.S. Navy ship and pay the price. But this was just the beginning. While the strikes silenced the Houthis, at least for a while, they pushed the conflict into darker territory. Just 2 months later, Trump ordered a brutal second wave. This time, it wasn't just bunkers that were wiped out. It was hundreds of Houthi rebels, including the main leaders. In March 2025, President Trump unleashed a lethal wave of airstrikes that devastated Houthi operations and brutally killed 5 of their key leaders. This wasn't just a follow-up to January's strikes, it was a full-blown escalation, a clear signal that the US was done playing defense. The strikes began on March 15th. With brute force, US forces hit critical Houthi bases across Yemen. They targeted radars, air defenses, missile systems, and drone facilities, everything the Houthis used to launch attacks on Red Sea shipping and American warships. Trump made his position clear. Houthi aggression would no longer be tolerated.
Trump says the Houthis have waged an unrelenting campaign of piracy, violence, and terrorism against American and other ships, aircraft, and drones. We will use overwhelming lethal force until we have achieved our objective.
National Security Advisor Mike Waltz called the strikes overwhelming lethal force. This time, the U.S. was out for blood. Among the dead was the Houthis' chief missile expert, a central figure in their operations. Next was Zain al-Abidin al-Maturi, a top commander specializing in security and logistics. Killed in a targeted airstrike, he was wiped out in seconds. Then came Mansour al-Sadi, commander of Houthi naval forces. His death dealt a major blow to their ability to wage war at sea, but the strikes didn't stop with military targets. On March 24th, U.S. forces hit a residential building in Sana'a, believed to house senior Houthi leadership. At least one official was killed. Over a dozen were injured, including civilians. Footage from the scene showed collapsed buildings and pools of blood in the rubble. By March 31st, reports confirmed more than 59 killed in the strikes. Between March 28th and 31st alone, 62 airstrikes were carried out against Houthi infrastructure and leadership.
The attacks reportedly targeted the water supply management building. The U.S. has been bombing Yemen since mid-March after the Houthis threatened to resume attacks on Israel-linked ships in the Red Sea. The attacks have killed more than 60 people, including women and children.
But Trump still wasn't finished. The campaign continued to push north into Saada and Hajjah governorates. On March 30th, a U.S. strike on a vehicle traveling Yemen's N5 highway killed 2 high-ranking commanders coordinating missile attacks on U.S. warships. This second wave sent an unmistakable message. Under Trump, the United States would not tolerate threats. The Houthis' leadership was shattered, their infrastructure leveled, their forces forced into retreat. The Trump administration has made their stance clear. The Houthi rebels face no option. It's either give up or die. Trump's team has painted a bleak picture of the future awaiting the rebels if they continue their attacks on U.S. interests and international shipping. As Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt said in a recent briefing, there's a new sheriff in town, and the rebels should be petrified.
There's a new sheriff in town, and this president is not just going to sit on his hands and allow terrorists to launch attacks on commercial vessels and U.S. naval ships. Those actions will not be tolerated.
These aren't empty words. Trump's history speaks volumes about his ruthless approach to dealing with enemies. A clear example is his meeting with the Taliban's leader during his first presidency. Trump, with a cold gaze, brandished a picture of the leader's home as a warning.
I sent him a picture of his house. He said, but
where
why?
He was at the time.
He said, but why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you'll have to figure that one out. But I said, if you do anything from that point on, we didn't lose one soldier. I said, if you do anything, we're going to hit you harder than any country has ever been hit.
This wasn't a casual remark. It was a chilling reminder of Trump's reach and willingness to strike at the most personal level. That same deadly threat is now aimed squarely at the Houthis. The administration is already planning further escalations in the coming weeks, but the strategy goes beyond military force. Trump's team is also tightening the screws financially, working to cut off the Houthis' access to international funding, crippling their ability to sustain operations and pay fighters. This includes pressuring countries long accused of backing the rebels with weapons and resources. Trump's defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, said it directly. Iran is on notice for allegedly supporting the Houthis.
But the message is also clear to Iran.
that we have the capabilities, our allies have capabilities, and we are strong and united together today. That's American leadership. That's President Trump putting America first and standing strong. And it makes, as you know, all the difference, especially in that neighborhood.
But this isn't just about the Houthis anymore. It's about sending a warning to Iran, to their allies, to every enemy watching. Trump wants everyone to know, if you think your proxies can destabilize the region without consequences, think again. And Iran isn't the only one paying attention, because the moment those airstrikes hit, the world reacted. Right after the bombs dropped, the global powers world leaders wasted no time in responding. Russia was the first to speak out. They called for an immediate end to the strikes and demanded peace talks. But let's be real, they've been backing the Houthis in the shadows for years. Russian intel teams and military advisors have helped upgrade Houthi drones and missile systems. So when Trump hit hard, it wasn't just a hit on the Houthis, it was a warning to Moscow too. China followed with a more measured response, but the meaning was the same: de-escalate now. China depends on those Red Sea shipping lanes. If they go down, so does a chunk of China's trade. Beijing wants calm, not chaos.
中方反对任何加剧红海局势升级的行动。红海局势和也门问题有复杂的原因，应当通过对话谈判寻求妥善的解决。
Then there's Iran, the Houthis' biggest backer. Officially, Iran denies pulling the strings, but the evidence says otherwise. U.S. intel has tracked weapons, funding, and training flowing straight from Tehran.
And that's why Trump yesterday made it very clear that he will hold Iran fully responsible for any kind of support for the Houthis.
And after the March strikes, Iranian officials blasted the U.S., calling the attacks illegal and threatening consequences if Iran gets hit next. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, is all in. They've ramped up coordination with U.S. forces. After years of Houthi missiles raining down on their cities, they're not just supportive, they're vengeful. Israel's watching closely too. With Iran involved, the stakes for them are massive. And while they haven't said much publicly, behind the scenes, they're quietly cheering every strike. NATO is staying on the sidelines, for now. But they're monitoring every move. One wrong hit on a coalition vessel or European ship, and this conflict could spiral fast. This fight isn't just about Yemen anymore. It's about control of the Red Sea, one of the most critical trade routes on Earth. Around 15% of global trade passes through it. Houthi attacks since 2023 caused chaos. Shipping costs surged, companies rerouted vessels, and oil prices jumped.
There's a lot less traffic going through the Red Sea now. The volume's fallen 30% since mid-January. If you look at the red here, vessels are now sailing around Africa, and that takes a lot longer. It also costs more.
After the March strikes, traffic stabilized, prices dipped, the market calmed down, temporarily. But that calm is fragile. Traders know it, oil companies know it. Every strike, every speech from Tehran or DC sends the market into a frenzy. One wrong move could push the world into an economic spiral.
In the 3 weeks before the first US and UK strikes, there were 6 attacks on ships. In the 3 weeks since the US and UK action began, there were 9.
And let's not forget the bigger play. This is part of a wider US plan to crush Iranian influence. The Houthis are just one of Iran's proxies. Trump's message is clear: take out the pawns, then warn the king. If the Houthis keep pushing, the next round of strikes might not stay within Yemen's borders. This isn't just a battle, it's a power move. Trump is flexing hard, not just at rebels, but at rivals like Russia, China, and Iran. And they're all watching closely, because what happens next will reshape the balance of power in the Middle East.
It's been a bad 3 weeks for the Houthis, and it's about to get worse. It's been a devastating campaign, whether it's underground facilities, weapons manufacturing, bunkers, troops in the open, air defense assets. We are not going to relent. And it's only to get more unrelenting until the Houthis declare they will stop shooting at our ships. And we've been very clear at the Iranians as well. They should not continue to provide support to the Houthis, and that message has been made very clear. So we have a lot more options and a lot more pressure to apply, and we know, because we see the reports, how devastating this campaign has been in them, and we will not relent.
The Houthis are now staring down a future that looks nothing like the past. The old days, where they could launch attacks, scatter into the shadows, and regroup, are over.
These guys, these Houthis, these are pirates, okay? This is a band of, it's a gang. And these guys have missiles, and they've launched 174 attacks against the U.S. Navy ships, 150-something attacks on commercial vessels. And so I think the point that I've made publicly is we are doing a great favor to the world. The United States is doing a great favor to the world.
Trump's return has flipped the battlefield. What they face now is a no-limits campaign designed not just to punish, but to erase. Their command structure is falling apart. Their weapons are being destroyed before they can be used. Their leaders are being hunted down and wiped out with ruthless precision. No place is safe. Not a bunker in Sada. Not a convoy on the highway. Not even a hidden apartment in Sana'a. And it's not just about firepower anymore. The pressure is closing in from all sides. Their money's being cut off, their support networks exposed, and their every move tracked. There's no breathing room left. But this isn't just about the Houthis. It's a warning shot, loud and clear, to every enemy watching. Iran, Russia, China. This is what happens now when you cross the line. The era of restraint is over. Trump's strategy is simple. Crush the threat before it spreads. And if the Houthis still don't get it, the next strike won't just be deadly. It'll be historic. So, what are your thoughts? Did Trump just set the standard for how America should deal with its enemies? Or is this a dangerous overreach? Is the US fighting terrorism or creating new enemies for the next generation to deal with? Should Iran be the next target? Or is that a line the US shouldn't cross? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss our deep dives into today's most controversial issues. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to click the next video on your screen.